Record. Okay, so body image and self-perception, a really interesting topic and an important one, especially in the fitness industry, and obviously when you're changing and transforming your body. So it's important when you make these drastic changes to your lifestyle, physically, emotionally, mentally, that we learn some mechanisms and coping systems, so then we can better prepare for it and then learn how to cope with it because it can be quite damaging and sometimes it is difficult to overcome and deal with. So as always, when we start these things, we need to understand like what actually body image is, and how that kind of involves in our day-to-day life. So body image is like how we see our body, how we feel about our body, what you think, and then how you act in response to these thoughts and feelings. So they're the kind of things when we talk about, body image or body dysmorphia, kind of seeing yourself as someone or not recognizing the person that you once knew or kind of the person that you feel inside versus what's being portrayed. Um, so some of you might be able to relate to that, whether it's, being a really heavy weight, dropping weight, or for someone that's really skinny and then gaining lots of weight. So it can affect all types of people. So what is the issue around us, or what's kind of like what is something that is always kind of going wrong on around this topic? So let's focus on some of these areas. So we just had someone join us. So the biggest lie is pretty much the best way to kind of cover this. It's things like social media, editing, filters, and now more recently AI, society, expectations, and everything that's behind the scenes. So especially when it comes to things that are posted on social media, it's the lighting, it's the diet beforehand, it's the right position, the right angle that you're taking the things. And especially talking about the fitness industry in particular, things like steroids. Okay. Something that we need to be more and more open about, with usage, and especially for these actors and celebrities and fitness influencers, something that does get used and something that we don't see, but us as normal people or people who don't use those things, we see it as like an achievable goal when actually there's always an enhanced thing that's behind it. And it kind of blurs what is real and what is achievable and what's not. So that's kind of like the lie that around us, and that's kind of what causes a lot of what how this body dysmorphia manifests. So how does this kind of come about, or how does this start to occur? So like too much time in the mirror, or focusing on the scale so much, so always being on the scales, looking, comparing, you know, especially when it comes to the mirror, every time you walk past the mirror, staring at yourself, thinking, okay, like, is that the person that I remember? Is that not the person that I recognized before? Obsession with your flaws. So being so obsessed with things that, aren't perfect or aren't right. Impact in relationships as well. So not actually being the person that you recognize yourself as. It can have an impact on your friendships, your relationships, because someone can see you as someone that's completely different. And that kind of ties in with what we see versus reality. And actually being able to bridge that gap is a development on kind of helping it and making it a little bit better. And then having this like all or nothing mindset can be really damaging as well. So, thinking that everything has to be perfect, everything has to be right, everything has to look a certain way, all kind of incorporates and gets put into this. So almost like a time frame, like I have to be this at a certain, just allow life to be as it is and things will work itself out. So that's kind of how these things start to kind of build up in our head. So how to help? Okay, so I've got a few like little action plans here. So if you're feeling these ways, you're feeling quite low, or you kind of don't feel like you're within the body that you recognize or know, write down negative thoughts. Okay, but actually write them down. Sit at the end of the day, write down all the horrible things that you said about yourself, and actually challenge them. If you were to say that to someone else, how would you feel? And think about it. Has anyone said that to you? Challenge it. So if you kind of stand in the mirror and you think, I look really skinny, write it down at the end of the day and actually challenge it. Think about it. Am I actually am I actually skinny? Okay. Turn in, I hate my body, because again, it's a common phrase. Like, I hate the way I look. I'm not happy with the way I look. Start to think about it in a different way. My body now allows me to move and grow stronger. I'm now able to do things that I wasn't able to do before. I don't feel out of breath when I'm carrying around the shopping, or I don't feel out of breath when I'm going for longer walks. Don't think about the way your body looks, but actually what your body is now able to do. So it's all about starting to talk and treat yourself better, which I understand and completely appreciate that can be really difficult. But it all starts with small little things. and being able to identify where those improvements have been made. So do this. Unfollow any like
I
social
just don't
media account.
find on it.
What do you say?
So
Okay, cool. So do this. Maybe we'll catch up at the end or put it in the chat. I don't know if you don't want to talk. Unfollow any social media accounts that cause a trigger. So like for me as well, like, you'll scroll through Instagram, you'll see your favorite influencer, they look amazing. And it doesn't matter if you really like what they do. It doesn't matter if you correlate with their story or you love their journey, whatever. If that causes a trigger for you, it's not useful. Like you don't know this person, they're not going to be upset if you unfollow them. It's about protecting yourself and your energy. And if going on Instagram and something as small as a post can trigger you, that's not a small thing and that needs to be changed. So if you know that's triggering you, then that needs to change. And you need to unfollow some of these things that are triggering you and then actually being able to identify who those are and what those triggers are. So celebrities, influencers, whatever that may be. And even coming away from the social media scene, it could be newspapers or magazines that you read. Um, Start to follow more self-care accounts. So for me, I try and have like an influencer in each kind of scene. So like I'll follow someone who, focusing on self-care, getting outdoors. More recently, I've had ones that's on like behavior and how your response and your behaviors are to certain things. So try and follow some accounts that are not so focused on image, not so focused on massive marketing or promotion, but actually just about value and providing self-care to yourself. Um, don't try and put yourself in clothes that are like fashionable or skin tight to like show your gains or to hide away things. Wear things that are comfortable, okay? Because sometimes like you force yourself to look a certain way or pair with everyone else. Just because everyone wears Gymshark doesn't mean you have to wear Gymshark. Wear something that's loose, that's comfortable, that you can enjoy being in. And focusing your energy and your goals to more function, energy, strength, mental well-being. That is the goal at the end of the day, not the way you look. Okay? If you want to get ready for walking along the beach, getting ready for summer, whatever, that might be your goal. But that's not the sustainable goal. That's a short-term goal. The actual long-term goal is to be able to function better, be able to get up and down the stairs, play with the grandkids at the end of the day or at the end of our life, right? And not have health complications. That is the ultimate goal. The short-term goal is the way you look. So it's actually broadening the horizon and going, actually, this part of my life or this phase isn't the end all and be all. So useful resources to come off the back of this as well. Just some books if you want to have a look into those. A website as well. The one that's actually really cool is the Body Image Workbook. So this is actually a workbook that you can buy online, and you actually work through. It's about understanding your body. As it kind of says, it's the Body Image Workbook, right? So it is actually a workbook to go through body image, understand why you feel the way that you feel, or anything that you kind of have in disconnect with your body. That's the one that I kind of really know about, and I think it's really cool. So if you are struggling with things like this, that's a high recommendation from me. And then, yeah, just have a look at some of the other bits and bobs as well. That's if you're kind of looking for extra reading or extra resources. So, in summary, body dysmorphia, body image, struggling with kind of knowing who you are, where you're at, it is tough and it is a very real thing. And it's not something that can just be fixed in a couple of weeks. Okay. It's a lifestyle change, it's a long-term change. You may need therapy, you may need to see a GP. This is not something that like I've gone into depth or have loads of experience about, but it's something that I recognize. And the only way that you can help that is actually slowly starting to treat yourself better, start to focus on self-care and not be so obsessed with things like the weight and the scale and the mirror. I know it's difficult, I really do, but it's not serving you. And the end goal is about health and fitness, not just the way we look. So that's kind of the summary. And if you are in a struggling place or that, reach out for help, reach out for like professional help, or have a look at some of those resources. Again, like that workbook is really cool. So that can be super useful to you as well. So now we're going to go on to open Q&A. So for those of you that are here, if you have anything to add, pop it in the chat or I'll stop the recording and then we can have a conversation about it. Hopefully this helped. Again, it's quite a difficult topic to go like really in depth to. because I don't have tons of experience. But that's kind of what I would say is just focus on the self-help, slowly start to treat yourself better and seeing yourself in a different way. Like this is a new version of you. This is like the 2.0 version of you, not the one that you used to be. So see it as a positive thing rather than a negative. So yeah, hopefully this helps.